Hello, good afternoon student. Welcome to this video lecture series. So dear student, today we are going to talk about types of communication. As you know, in the previous video we discussed what is communication, then we discussed the definitions of communication, and then we talked about the process of communication. Okay, in the last video we learned what is the process of communication. As you know, the process of communication involves sender and the receiver. These are the two major components of process of communication. Okay, in the process of communication, as you know, we have seen that first of all, a sender formulates a message or a content. Alright, then encoding of that message. Encoding means to send, to convey that particular content, instruction or message, we need certain language. Okay, it may be language, it may be picture, it may be some gesture, whatever. So encoding of message or encoding of communication or message is using certain language or using certain sign and symbol. Okay, the very same sign and symbol must be understood by the receiver at the other end. So first of all, you formulate a message in your mind, you frame or you form a message in your mind, and that message is conveyed through some particular language. Okay, if not language, then you can convey it through some certain picture, by certain gesture, by using certain signs and symbols. That is called encoding of the message. Then the next stage was the transmission of message. How to transmit the message means how to transfer that particular message or content. Transference. Alright, transference means using certain media. By using certain media, we are transferring that content, that message to the receiver. Alright, so the transmission of the message, then the decoding of the message. Decoding of the information. Decoding means to understand, to extract whatever has been sent by the sender. Alright, means decoding means you are able to read or you are able to understand that particular language through which not only language but gesture or signs or symbols, means whatever encoded, you just decode it, you just extract it, you just explain it, you just read it out. Alright, that is called decoding. Decoding means understanding that particular message. How can you decode? Means the very first condition is that there must be a certain common system or common method of conveying message. Means the language, sign or gesture used by the sender, a receiver is supposed to, or a receiver must be familiar with those sign, symbols or language used by the receiver. Only then the used by the sender, only then the receiver would be able to understand that particular information, content or message. Alright, and then finally the feedback of that message means the response of the receiver. Alright, so this was the process of communication that we discussed in our last video. Alright, for example, as I told you in my previous video, that right now I am teaching you, this is completely online method. Okay, I have a content, I have formulated this content, okay, and I am delivering this. Alright, means the way I am speaking or whatever I am speaking, that is called the decoding of that content. I have decoded this content into English and Hindi language. Alright, so मैं हिंदी और इंग्लिश में आप लोगों को पढ़ा रहा हूँ, मीन्स मैंने अपना कंटेंट इंग्लिश में बनाया, but at the same time I am delivering this in English by using a certain amount of Hindi language as well for your better understanding. So that is called decoding. And transferring, right now I am using my mobile. Through mobile, internet is connected. So internet is the transmission, that is the media that is used to convey that content to you. And at the other end, you are able to understand me. You understand my English, you understand my Hindi, alright? And that's why you are able to decode that content. And then you learn and you respond me. That is called feedback by the receiver. That was the entire process of communication. Today we are going to talk about the types of communication. There are different types of communication. Alright, there are different types of communication, but from your examination point of view and as a part of your syllabus, we are going to discuss two types of communication. All right, the first one is that is the formal and informal communication. What? Formal and informal communication. And the second one is that is the verbal and non-verbal communication. All right, so here in this video we are going to talk about those types one by one. So let's begin with formal and informal communication. So in formal and informal communication, we are going to begin with formal communication. What is formal communication? Formal means formalities. Formal communication involves formalities. There are different types of formalities. There are formalities at a different stages or at different steps. So the formal communication can be said official communication. The communication that is used in some company, in some office, in some organization, in the schools, colleges, all right, that is called formal communication. Formal communication means official communication. Suppose you get certain notice by the principal, same notice is pasted on the notice board, and when you go through that particular notice, principal is not directly sharing with you, the same content is pasted on the notice board and you go through it. That is called formal communication. Means certain action, certain instruction, certain message, certain information is delivered by the principal, not directly, not face to face, but in the form of a notice, and the same notice is pasted over the notice board where you can go through that notice. Got it? That is a type of formal communication. Similarly, in different companies, okay, the communication between employer and employees, that is also formal communication. Okay, in certain company there are different stages of communication. At the top there is the boss, CEO or the director of the company. Okay, then he or she just passes down or delivers the message or the content to his subordinate. Subordinate convey the same message to the next lower level, and then finally the information reaches to the concerned employees or the labor class who are working at the bottom level. So that is the process of formal communication. Got it? So formal communication में क्या होता है, बहुत सारी stages होती है. All right, सबसे ऊपर बॉस होता है. बॉस कोई डिसीजन लेता है या बताता है कि वो ऐसा करना चाहता है, कंपनी के लिए ऐसा सोच रहा है या ऐसा होना चाहिए. वो अपने नीचे जो बॉस होते हैं उनको बताता है. वो लोग उनके नीचे जो होते हैं डेप्यूटीज उनको बताता है, और वो अपने कंसर्न डिपार्टमेंट में जो एम्प्लॉइज़ हैं उनको बताते हैं, और उनके भी नीचे का लेवल होता है तो वो फिर उनके साथ शेयर करते हैं. सो ये दैट इज़ ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल हायरार्की. इसको क्या बोलते हैं? ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल हायरार्की. टॉप टू बॉटम डायरेक्टली लाइन नहीं जाती है. टॉप से नेक्स्ट लेवल पे मैसेज इन्फॉर्मेशन आता है, फिर वहाँ से नेक्स्ट लेवल पे आता है, फिर नेक्स्ट लेवल पे आता है, फिर नेक्स्ट लेवल पे आता है. एट द सेम टाइम बॉटम से भी टॉप पे आना है तो बॉटम वाले उनके ऊपर वाले को मैसेज कन्वे करते हैं. द सेम इज पुश फॉरवर्ड अपवर्ड, फिर आगे जाता है, फाइनली बॉस तक आता है. तो ये हायरार्की होती है, ये सिस्टम होता है, ये औपचारिकता होती है, ये फॉर्मेलिटीज़ होती हैं. दैट इज़ कॉल्ड फॉर्मल कम्युनिकेशन. ऑल राइट. सो फॉर्मल कम्युनिकेशन में क्या होता है? कोई नोटिस होता है, कोई रिपोर्ट होता है, कोई मेमो होता है. ऑल राइट. ईमेल्स होते हैं, इंटरनेट पे वेबसाइट्स वगैरह होती है जहाँ पे हम किसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन और कंपनी के बारे में जानकारी ले सकते हैं. ऑल दिस इज़ द पार्ट ऑफ फॉर्मल कम्युनिकेशन. क्या होता है? इसको फॉर्मल कम्युनिकेशन कहते हैं हम. फॉर्मल कम्युनिकेशन को एज आई टोल्ड यू दैट इट कैन ऑल्सो बी टर्म्ड एज ऑफिशियल कम्युनिकेशन. ऑफिशियल बात होती है, पर्सनल टॉक नहीं होती है. पर्सनल प्रॉब्लम्स और पर्सनल इश्यूज आर नॉट कंसर्न. ऑफिशियल बात होती है, ऑफिशियल कंसर्न पे विचार किया जाता है, ऑफिशियल कंसर्न्स प्रॉब्लम्स को ही डिस्कस किया जाता है. ऑल राइट, दैट इज कॉल्ड फॉर्मल कम्युनिकेशन. आ गया समझ में? ओके. so let's have a look on the board. Formal and informal communications. So first of all, we'll talk about formal communication. What exactly formal communication is? The formal communication is the exchange of official information. Formal communication is the exchange of official communication. Alright, formal communication is also known as official communication. So the formal communication is the exchange of official information that flows along the different levels of the organizational hierarchy. That information, that message flows along the different levels of organizational hierarchy. मैनेजर होता है, मैनेजर से डेप्यूटी मैनेजर होता है, ठीक है, फिर लोअर मैनेजर होता है, सुपरिटेंडेंट होते हैं, ऑलराइट, फाइनली एम्प्लॉय होता है. So these are the different levels, alright, and that information or that message has to pass through all those hierarchical steps or stages. Got it? So that is called formal communication, is the exchange of official information that flows along the different levels of the organizational hierarchy. This is very important, organizational hierarchy. ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल मीन्स किसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की हायरार्की मतलब होता है सबसे ऊपर बॉस, फिर नीचे छोटा बॉस, और उससे लोअर कैटेगरी वाला, और उससे लोअर कैटेगरी वाला, फाइनली एट द बॉटम लेवल पे जो काम करने वाले होते हैं, दैट इज़ कॉल्ड हायरार्की. वैसे सिमिलर नीचे से ऊपर और बड़ा बॉस, इससे ऊपर वाला बॉस सुप्रीम एंड GM जनरल मैनेजर, डायरेक्टर, वॉट एवर, और CEO. ऑलराइट, सो ये होता है हायरार्की. So that has to be maintained, that organizational hierarchy has to be maintained in formal communication. Okay, so formal communication is the exchange of official information, maybe from top to bottom or bottom to top, but that information has to pass through those different steps. When it comes from up to downward movement or from down to upward movement, it has to pass through those different hierarchical stages. Got it? And conforms to the prescribed professional rules, policy and standards, processes and regulations of the organization. And conform means it must maintain, it must follow to the prescribed professional rules. उस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के अपने प्रोफेशनल रूल्स क्या बने हुए हैं, पॉलिसीज़ क्या हैं, स्टैंडर्ड्स क्या हैं, प्रोसेसेस क्या है और रेगुलेशंस क्या है ऑफ द उस पर्टिकुलर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की पॉलिसी, प्रोफेशनल रूल्स, स्टैंडर्ड्स, प्रोसेसेस एंड रेगुलेशंस हैं, उनको वो मीट करना चाहिए मीन उनके स्टैंडर्ड पे खरा उतरना चाहिए. मीन्स जो भी कम्युनिकेशन है, that communication must involve all these rules and regulations, policies and standards. किसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का प्रोसेस क्या है, उसके स्टैंडर्ड क्या है, alright, that must be kept in mind, that must be borne in mind. Alright, see, it maintains superior subordinate relationship. Formal communication में क्या होता है, it maintains superior and subordinate रिलेशनशिप. सुपीरियर टॉप पे होता है ऑफिसर, सबॉर्डिनेट उसके नीचे वाला. सो इन फॉर्मल कम्युनिकेशन दिस हायरार्की इज ऑलवेज मेंटेन. आपके ऊपर बॉस कौन है और आप बॉस हो तो आपके नीचे कौन है. ऑलराइट, सो दिस इज सुपीरियर सबॉर्डिनेट रिलेशनशिप. ऑलराइट, it has to maintain organizational hierarchy, then it has to conform to the prescribed professional rules, policies and standard, and then it is formal communication, it maintains superior subordinate relationship and follows the chain of command. It follows the chain of command. Chain of command means first at top level, then lower level, then lower level, then lower level, and finally at the bottom level. That is called the chain of command. Alright, it is in general downwards as the higher authorities send orders, instructions, messages, etc. to the subordinate employees. It is in general downwards movements. Downwards movements means the instructions, messages, information, okay, that is released, released and that comes down. Generally it is downward movements. Instructions, orders are given by the superiors, okay, not by the inferiors. So generally official communication is downward, okay. You are directed, you are instructed, you are advised from the top level. Alright, so formal communication is generally downward movements. Alright, and you must carry out those instructions. So, and follows the chain of command. It is in general downwards as the higher authorities send orders, instructions, messages, etc. to the subordinate employees following the rules and regulations of the organization. So the head of the organization or higher authorities send information, messages to the subordinate employees by following the rules and regulations of the organization. Those superiors and those bosses also have to maintain the policies. They also have to maintain the rules and regulations of their organization. Even they are not supposed to violate those regulations and those rules. Alright? Letters, reports, memos, emails, internet, website, etc. are used in formal communication. So what is formal communication? In formal communication involves letters. Okay, your boss writes a letter, your boss sends an email, okay, or reports. Certain report is made and it is percolated downwards. Memos, emails, on internet and on website, the information regarding the organization is given, or updates are updated on websites. So that is also the part of formal communication. So these are the types, or these are the ways that involve in formal communication. Alright, so हम आपस में जो बातचीत करते हैं, that is not formal communication, that is called informal communication. हमें रूल्स रेगुलेशंस मेंटेन करते हैं, हमें औपचारिकता मेंटेन करनी है, एंड वी हैव टू फॉलो द ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस, रूल्स, रेगुलेशंस, पॉलिसीज एंड स्टैंडर्ड्स. तो ये क्या है? दीज आर वेरियस फॉर्मेलिटीज टू बी मेंटेन एट various levels, and that's why this communication involves a number of formalities, and that's why it is called formal communication. Got it? I hope you must have understood it. So this is all about formal communication, and the next video we'll talk about informal communication. Goodbye. Thank you very much.